group tonight, God. We thank you so much for everything that's going on in the city, Lord, and everybody just puts their hands on it. God, I thank you, Lord, so much for those people. God, I ask you, Lord, just thank you for the season. We're about to enter into the holidays and the change of the weathers in the season. Be, Lord, with us the meeting tonight. Let the things be discussed for the city and the benefit of the city. And I ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Yeah. All right, let me, I don't know why I did that, but everybody's way ahead of me. Can't see there. Yeah. All right, so, attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let you guys read the agenda. While we do that, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Lilly. Here. Mizell. Weston.
Here.
King. Here. Phillips.
Here.
Merriman.
Here. And I'll give you a couple more minutes to take a look at the agenda. Okay, and as usual, the first item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which is the approval of the November 1st council meeting minutes. Does anyone have any recommended changes or corrections to the minutes? Okay, if not, let the record show that the minutes were accepted by unanimous consent. And we'll go on to the department reports.
Everything's going well at the police department. We still got 2 guys out on injury, Officer Mavis and Peppers. We're waiting to hear back from doctors on both of them. I think Peppers has got to undergo another surgery for his hand. And then as far as Mavis, we're waiting to hear from the doctor on his last evaluation on his restrictions and when he can return to work. So he's kind of the tail end of his. Hopefully he'll be coming back. Besides that, everything's good. Issues and concerns, it's getting that time of year again. People ordering packages, things of that nature. We just ask folks that if you do order stuff, I know sometimes it's hard to have things scheduled, but if you can, have them delivered while somebody's at home, or ask a neighbor to kind of watch out for you if you got packages coming in. That way they can get taken off your front porch as quickly as possible. The longer you leave them out there, the more it's just kind of a target for people who ride through. We're also picking up patrols in the neighborhoods, since it is this time of year, to watch for strange vehicles, people out walking, or people dropping off people to walk through the neighborhoods, and so you'll see it out in town a lot more. The only other thing is, I'm sure you all know about the robbery that we had at the CVS on October the 22nd. We had a white male that came into the CVS about 2 o'clock on that Saturday, and brandished a firearm and took $1,140 from the front cashier and left. I gotta say, and commend First Officer Cranston, first one on scene, the job he did, Investigator Hall and Lieutenant Knight, all 3 of those together. Once they got on scene, started getting information and putting things together, and with the use of flock and local cameras, we had the guy in custody in Pearl River, Mississippi 2.5 days later. Got the weapon used in the robbery, and guys in custody sitting in Shelby County Jail. So I'm real pleased with them.
He thought he got away, didn't he?
He got away. And I'll tell you what, it's things like that that make these little technologies that we have well worth it. Because if it hadn't been for flock, we would have I'd never been able to ID the vehicle or the person involved. He was actually, he's actually from Oregon. He was down here visiting someone. He'd been here for a few weeks. And decided to do him a robbery.
No one got hurt, did
No, nobody was hurt, no injuries. The people at CVS, they did a great job. They just basically, when he came in, they said, here's the tray. Have at it, step back. He took what he wanted and left, which is what we want you to do. We don't want you to try and fight with them, argue with them. Just give them what they want and get out the store, and we will take care of them later.
Did he have any existing warrants on? Was he
No, he did not have anything existing, but he was recently released from prison for the same thing in Oregon. So he'll have issues to deal with for work, and I'm sure he's on some type of parole.
Yeah. Good job.
Okay, any additional questions for the chief? Okay, thank you. Well, somehow I'm going the wrong way. Now, why is that thing going backwards?
You all figured it out.
I've just never seen it do that. When I click it, it usually goes forward.
You
Yeah.
had too much of a good vacation.
There you go. Admin.
Everything is going good. We are now fully staffed. We hired a part-time person for our janitorial and cleaning, and it has been wonderful so far. Your debt revenues and expenses are going well. The bottom shows, the first little section is general fund, and then the bottom part is the all other funds.
So that's the first month too, so, you know, it's a lot of timing issues associated with that, but, you know, positive variance on the general fund and a little bit to the negative in the total, but I'm not concerned yet. I think everything's gonna be fine. Any questions for the clerk and admin department? Okay, I'm gonna try this one more time, see if it goes forward.
Oh.
It does, in the court.
Everything's going well in court, collections are holding steady at this time. I know at one time, you know, the judge was concerned with the downturn in the economy, it did a downturn in court collections, but so far we're holding steady. We've got 2 more courts for 2022, which is next Tuesday and then December the 13th. And everything is status quo at the moment.
Okay. I wonder if the kiosk has anything to do with helping people with making the payments and stuff, collections.
Maybe, well, they are utilized, but more being able to make their payments online from home.
Oh, okay.
They don't have to come, if they're from outside of Columbiana, they don't have to come to Columbiana just to make a payment.
Okay.
They can do it online.
There you go. Technology again,
There you
just
go.
in a different way.
Wonderful.
So as I said, 2 more courts, December the 13th is the last court for 2022.
Okay. Any questions for Terry in the court? Thank you. Public Works.
Yes, sir, everything's running fine. We've not got a whole lot going on now. Grass season is backed off. We ain't having to cover every sucking leaves up through the streets and stuff. And the only thing we really got going on right now is besides just picking garbage and brush up, we're working on Christmas lights and stuff through town and trying to get some of that up and everything.
Okay.
Other than that, everything's fine.
Now, we let the contracts on the paving. Can you give
Yes.
us an update on when some of that's gonna get started?
They
Or
was hoping to start this week, but this cold weather come in, so they gonna try to see if they can do something next week. Probably the first road we're gonna get done, it's the 2 roads that needs the most grinding on, which would be Highway 28, there at the stop sign at the school, to the county's apron there at Myrtle Street, then they're gonna jump over on, East Sterrett Street, because it's gonna have to have a good bit of milling on it and stuff and getting them out of the way and everything.
was Myrtle one of the streets?
No, sir. It's in good shape right now. Once we get through this year, we'll have, probably next year, we'll have probably 4 or 5 roads we need to pave. And we should have them all paved inside the city limits, you know.
Okay, and then start all over again at some point. All right.
Central Alabama will be the ones doing the paving and everything.
Okay, well, hopefully that all goes well. Any other questions for Alan in Public Works? Okay. All right, board reports. Planning Commission?
We met last week and we did the pre-zoning for the property on Jointown and Rocky Ridge. That was approved by the Planning Commission, so that will come to council on December 20th. We'll annex one property, then do the rezoning. If that passes, then we'll annex the next property and do that rezoning.
Remind me, is there a hearing, another?
It's a public hearing, yes.
So we would have the public hearing and then we would
And
do the
then-
annexation
And then we
following the
would
hearing.
vote it.
Do letters have to, or letters, any letters sent out to, is there any people involved in
Only
that?
when it goes, like, the letters are sent out when it goes to the, planning commission for that public hearing. We don't have to do it again when we did this one, but we
Okay.
just let everybody know that.
Do we know how many people that touches out there? Roughly?
One of them, I only sent like 3 or 4 letters, and the other one was like 6, 7,
Okay.
maybe. And some of them were actually the same property owners.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not that many out
No,
there.
that's right.
They're generally
Yeah.
larger parcels that are surrounding it, so it's not that many property owners. Anything else?
That's
For
all.
recreation, or I mean, for the planning commission,
That's all.
recreation?
Yeah, we met, last week, Ally, right? Good meeting. We just sort of wrapped up all the youth sports. We got youth basketball that's kicking off, everything else is sort of winding down. Talked a little bit about again, about the improvements at Bolton. The press box is done, bleachers are done, all that area is done, so it looks really good. The other phase of that is that we're still working on doing those dugouts. So we've talked to one person, and we're trying to just get another gauge of how it's going to look. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a lot more simple than what we initially thought, and obviously a lot cheaper for that too. So I think they're going to end up leaving the block, pour some concrete, basically making a roof, and put a chain link fence in front of that roof, so they're just taller. So it'll be a lot less expensive than what we thought. A lot less work involved too. So hopefully that'll be done. What do we say? End of January, 1st of February, something like that. So everything's moving along.
Any other questions for recreation? Water board?
We had our regular business meeting last Tuesday. The only thing that's fixing, you'll start seeing probably in the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks, they should be through everything in Spring Creek, changing the meters out, and the one just doing the beach strictly here in Columbiana, getting them changed out, and they shoot for about the middle of February being done with everything.
Okay. Any other questions?
So are they reading those from the building here hour, or are they just going out and watching
This is
it?
the first, no, they have to go down
Really got it.
there and just drive down the street and stuff. This is the first year this is the first time this month that a lot of them in Spring Creek was read from the truck and everything, that they didn't have to get out and raise no leads or nothing.
Any issues? Did they have any
Not
issues?
that I know of right now.
Let's go more technology.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's good. I know we certainly don't want to have any issues like the Birmingham Water Board's got, and certainly, which I don't think has anything to do with how they read their meters.
But still.
Okay, any other questions for Water Board? Okay. Okay, so this is a resolution to approve a new job classification for the Director of Community Affairs and Senior Services. Allie's been pretty much doing this job for 2 years, and but was operating under the Senior Services. The policy, Personnel and Policy Committee, I think, took this up at my request. I appreciate that. And so this is a resolution to adopt the change to the job classification. The job description is in the next chart. I'll just, I think you guys probably would have a hard time reading that, so if you have copies of it, you can read it. Is there a motion to introduce Resolution 112204?
I make a motion that we accept resolution 1122 going forward to approve the add community affairs and senior services director job.
Is there a second? Okay, as far as discussion before we vote, there is a statement on here that says all promotional employees are placed on a 6-month probation and do not receive merit increases while on probation. That is not in the city's policy. And I have a little bit of concern about basically not following the policy. And I would suggest that we amend this and adopt the amended without that last line in there.
I accept that.
Any other discussion on that?
Is there something in there about a year though?
No, there's
no,
not.
there's
There's, as far
It
as
used to be a
promotion,
year probation.
for promotion, there's never been a probation
Promotion, that's
requirement.
the,
There is a probation requirement for new
Right, that's what I'm
employees,
thinking about.
but not for promotion.
gotcha. Which I think we just,
We did that to other employees.
yeah,
What
And
other
the-
employees?
But it's not in
yeah,
the handbook,
but,
so.
reason I said that, cause I don't think we started promotional stuff to like 2 years ago, probably with this council or something. So I mean, it may be a deal to where we may wanna amend that policy to.
Yeah.
Down the road or
Yeah, I
something.
think my biggest concern, primarily, is, if we have a policy, we need to follow.
Oh, I understand.
And I would just hate to adopt a resolution that is in conflict with our policy, that's it. And I agree with you, we should address the policy. Because I don't think it's been amended since we changed from a year to 6 months, the policy still says a year. So I think it's in need of updating.
But it's the probationary deal, it's a year, right? Right,
Right.
right, yeah, what?
Our probation, we changed it to
6
6
months,
months.
Okay.
So I would move that we amend the resolution to strike the line about all promotional employees are placed on a 6-month probation and adopt the resolution as amended. Is there a second for that?
I say.
Okay, so would you call the roll then for the amended resolution?
Councilmember Lilly,
Yes.
Rustin,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes. Okay, so let the record show that the resolution has passed. Is there any other city business that we'd like to discuss?
I just have a question, going down, I call it 70, but where they're digging on the right-hand side, what is that?
It's gonna be like a neighborhood store and gas station.
No, okay, that.
Coming
okay,
up.
Coming up, yeah, over there on the.
Coming from Columbiana on 70 or going?
Going out of town, right in front of,
Co-op,
yes, thank you.
that's that sewer project.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I wasn't sure if that was a sewer.
That's your
line.
project.
yeah. I wasn't far enough along, I was further down the road than you
Well,
were.
I think the water's out either side.
Okay.
There was a proclamation, but I don't think it made it into the.
You know, you're right, there was a proclamation. How did that get out?
No, it was not in here.
But it's in our.
It's in our package,
So let's go ahead and do
yes.
that. I don't have it with me. So, the proclamation is proclaiming November as National Home Care and Hospice Month. You guys should all have a copy of this proclamation. So, is there a motion to accept the proclamation proclaiming November as National Home Care and Hospice Month?
I'll make that motion.
So,
And all in favor? Aye?
All right.
And opposed, like sign? Okay, so the proclamation has been adopted. I don't know how that got, when the slides got redone, how that got omitted. Okay, mayor's report. There's statutory requirement for me to give a semi-annual financial condition report, and I think I didn't know about this until shortly before I gave it the last time. I don't think it had ever been done before, but I chose to do it first 6 months of the fiscal year and then the last 6 months of the fiscal year. So I did the first one in April, going through March of 2022. And so to do the last 6 months, I should have done this in October, but because we accrue payables, sometimes we're still closing out those payables in October at the beginning of the fiscal year. So I didn't have the final to be able to do that financial condition report until the end of the month. And I sent you guys a copy of it via email on the 7th of November. And so pretty much the language in the report is the same as before. One thing is the report that I sent you said that we had a 3.7 million net budget surplus. The reality is, once it was up, I got some updated data after I wrote the report, and it was actually a little bit bigger than that, about 4.1 million. The statute says to describe the city's financial condition and the status of its debt. So what I talked about is that we are going to see future increases in our debt service. That's the way our bonds are structured, as the earlier bonds are matured there to lower interest rate, and then the later older bonds that go further out are higher interest rate. So our debt service this year went up from, I think, around $734,000 in 22 to $740,000 in 23, and calculating it, and it's rough, it's going to peak out around 800,000 plus or minus, and that's assuming we don't, based on the existing bonds and warrants that we have, and it'll fluctuate slightly, but until those bonds mature in 2040, whenever, it's about 28 more years from now. So, one of the things that I always think about is how much debt is too much debt. And is there a rule of thumb for cities and municipalities? If your banks and lending institutions for personal debt will tell you that, your mortgage shouldn't be more than 28% of your gross income, and your total debt shouldn't be more than 36% of your gross income. But what's the right number for a city? Our debt today is around 13% of recurring taxes and fees. That's that doesn't include grants and other things, but that's the stuff that we can count on as revenue because they're recurring taxes and fees. And two things are going to happen in addition to the debt service is going to go slightly up over the years. Eventually, we will end up drawing on the loan, the SRF loan that we took out for the sewer. That won't happen until probably next year. And that will increase the debt service by, I think, somewhere around $130,000 a year for 20 years. And my estimation is that will take our debt service up to about a little bit more than 15% of recurring taxes and fees. So I said, okay, what's the rule of thumb? And I did some research, and I found a study that was done, and they said that a safe place for debt is 25 to 30% of recurring revenue and capital investment. So I went back and looked at our capital investment, and we're well within that. In fact, we're actually a little bit below the 25%. And on the capital investment, I did not use, we call a lot of things capital that from a GAAP perspective aren't really capital investment. So I tried to take some of that stuff out, like street repairs and things are not really a capital investment per se. So took that stuff out, and we're pretty much well within that. So that's just me trying to say, okay, how's our debt service? Are we okay? How much is too much? And I think we're okay. The other thing in the report that I sent you, I went through all that hullabaloo about what our statutory borrowing limits are. And our limits increased because our net asset value increased. Not our net asset value, but taxable asset value. So property taxes, vehicle taxes, things like that, that is how you calculate that. And so our borrowing capacity increased. Again, I'm not so sure that just because you have it, you need to exercise it. That's why I'm always looking for rules of thumb. And last year I also adopted this 10-point test comparison, and working with our auditors, we calculated those. So in 20, and this is looking backwards. So because it has to look at audited financial statements based on, that have been prepared in accordance with GAAP. We budget pretty much on a cash basis, and we almost operate on a cash basis, but it's a modified cash or modified accrual, whatever you want to call it, because of the fact that we do accrue payables. And is there anything else that we accrue besides payables? And so we were better than average in FY20. So looking back at the FY21 audit, it declined to average. It's on the strong end of average. Score, I think, of from 1 to 4 is average, and our score was 3. And really the key thing there was net asset value, and part of that has to do with the Old Mill Square project. Over the last 5 years, we had been increasing our asset value based on percentage completion of the Old Mill Square, but our debt associated with that was increasing at a lower rate. Well, in 2021, we were basically done with the Old Mill Square, so we didn't have any increases in asset value. We also did some things that were smart, and we cleaned up the balance sheet. We disposed of excess assets and things like that. So our net asset value went down, so we were kind of punished for basically good fiscal management as far as that thing's done. But as long as we're average, better than average, I think we're in pretty good shape. So again, I sent you guys a report if you have questions about that. We need to make a copy of that report a part of the minutes here. So let's get a hard copy and just follow with the minutes. Okay, any questions on that? I don't want to dive too deep in it. November 8th was election day. It's still going on. Literally in many places, early voting was 3 weeks prior and 3 weeks after. We're still and there's going to be places with runoffs. It ain't over till it's over, but anyway, it's election day is becoming pretty painful as far as I'm concerned. 8 to 10 November, I went down to the Municipal Leadership Institute, and on the 8th of November, we also had our graduation from the Economic Development Academy, of which Columbiana attended. And so we have this nice certificate that was issued to the city that says the Alabama League of Municipalities certifies that the municipality of Columbiana has been awarded the designation of Certified Economic Development Academy Municipal Graduate. And so anyway, we need to find a prominent place to display that. And the requirement for participation was that the mayor, at least 2 council members had to attend. And our team was Ashley Phillips. Let's see. So Ashley, here's your certificate saying that you have successfully completed the program. I decided that photo ops weren't really necessary, but if you guys want to. Kim King. Okay, and Charlene Tucker. So it was great to have Charlene on there, even though she wasn't required because she is on the Planning Commission. So I was on there. I got one too. And one of the things is I felt like we needed to have representation from both our retail community and our industrial community. So from the retail, Kathy Hitt was on the team. And from the industrial, Chris Strickland was on the team. So they had a nice ceremony, and then after that, they also did the certified municipal official graduation. So came back on November the 10th. Got here just about the time. Well, they had already started the Main Street Artisan Market. That went pretty well for the businesses that stayed open. They all said that they had a lot of people who were attracted to the artisan market. It did rain a little bit, put a little bit of a damper on it, but it was nice. I bought some really nice, not pumpkin bread, what was banana nut bread at the thing, so it was good. And then the next day was November the 11th, which was Veterans Day. The American Legion had their breakfast and lunch at the rec center. Again, raining, and it kind of put a damper on things. Wasn't the greatest turnout in the world, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. On the 14th, I went to the American Village, where they had the swearing-in ceremony for the Shelby County Legislative Delegation. That's all of the state representatives and state senators, which is one that represents Shelby County. And so congratulations to Corley Ellis, who is our representative amongst the others, and Lance Bell from Pell City is our state senator. So it was a nice ceremony. Tomorrow is the Shelby County Mayor's Association at Old Mill Square, and then later on in the afternoon at 3 o'clock is a Columbiana stakeholders meeting that 58 Inc. is hosting. All of the city council has been invited to that. I would encourage you, if you can make it, to come. Melody Witten from 58 Inc.'s really kind of gone over and above to try to put together a team of folks who can tell us about things that can help us. And one of the things is Opportunity Alabama's there, and I assume they're going to talk about the Economic Opportunity Zone. And I've been really struggling to figure out how to make that Opportunity Zone be something that can actually, should left well enough, help us. It's at 3 o'clock, and it's at the Grand Hall. I tried to get them to push the time back a little bit, and they said they couldn't, based on the availability of the presenters. The grant that we got from the EPA grant that's being administered by the Appalachian Regional Commission for Recreation Economies for Rural Communities, we had a kickoff virtual meeting. There'll be the first planning meeting for that. It's also virtual on the 21st of November. And there'll be 3 of those that will run into December. And then in January, we will have an on-site 2-day planning session here in Columbiana. And then on the 7th of December, which was originally scheduled for October and they rescheduled it, was a Shelby County Senior Summit. There's a lot of things, obviously, I'm assuming on the events that I didn't put on there because I didn't want to steal the thunder for that. Any questions about this stuff? Okay. Announcements. There we go.
All right. So it is the Christmas season, whether you like it or not. So every Friday night let's start with this week. Friday and Saturday of this week is Christmas open house for Columbiana businesses. So stop in and say hello. They should all be open and having some sort of special something going on. So then every Friday in December, we will have snow in Old Mill Square Park. December 2nd is the Christmas parade and kind of what has become more than just a parade. The tree lighting and kind of a festival. The Christmas trees in the park will all be delivered the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And so businesses will be decorating those between then and the Friday of the Christmas parade.
How many did we have?
50.
Did you get 50 to sign up?
Yes.
That's great.
It's great. Al is stressing about electricity, but we're going to figure it out. Even if we have to buy those little battery-operated lights, or people have to buy them, we'll figure it out. But it's great. It'll be so much fun. And then, so December is busy. You can look and see all the things that are going on. We'll try to have something special each Friday night in the park. Santa Claus is going to come a couple of times. We've got some people who are going to come and sing. So it should be a lot of fun and hopefully bring a lot of traffic to town.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so I got a little story. I put lighting things up on the battery-operated lights. When I was in Saudi Arabia, you cannot get a Christmas tree in Saudi Arabia, but you can bootleg one. Okay. So there was a Pakistani guy that worked on the in the store of the little, kind of like a little 7-Eleven store that we had in our compound, and he could get me a Christmas tree, and he wanted, I think he wanted 450 Saudi riyals. Now that's like $150 $10, something like that. Anyway, whatever it is, around $100. But we wanted to have a Christmas tree, and all you can get in Saudi Arabia, they call them fairy lights, but you
Okay.
can get little blinky, flashy lights and stuff, and they're all battery operated, and they'll last the whole Christmas season.
Why don't you put a battery in them?
Yeah, but no, they will. I mean, you put the batteries in there, and they last all Christmas season. So this tree comes in, and it's in a box about this big, and it isn't more than that. And I'm like, and the poor tree, when I got it back to my villa and I opened it up, it looked like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree. And I was like, I paid $100 for this thing, you know. I could have gone to Walmart and got it for $10. But we had a Christmas tree, so that was a nice thing. The next year I found somebody else who was a better bootlegger, and I got a better tree. So anyway, any other questions about this? Okay.
So one of the things that Main Street Clemien has asked, because the merchants did so well at the Moonlight Market, is they would like to do it again on December 9th.
Right, that's when.
So, and close the streets that night as well. So it really did, the merchants did very, very well.
The ones that were open.
The ones that
There
were
There were
open.
just a few.
They did real well, and so they would like to do that again on the 9th.
I hope
So-
they do, because I didn't get to go.
Yeah, so,
really was
I understand Sweet Treats did well, the Farm Company did well,
The
the
leader,
Leader
did
did
very,
well,
very
even what's the little store next to Main Street Florist? It's Main Street
Main
Market.
Street Market.
And was there anybody open in the corner shops? I don't recall.
No.
So the ones that stayed open, we're happy, and then like I said,
Yeah.
we had the vendors in the street as well. Our form that we fill out is, the way it's worded, it says that when somebody wants to shut down Main Street, they're basically filling out the form and to get permission from the city council. I don't think we need a resolution or any of that, but does anybody on the council, they're wanting to shut the street down at 5 o'clock. Most of the stores, if not all, most of them, their normal business hours are around 4:30 to 5 o'clock. So it shouldn't interfere with anybody. There was a merchant who wasn't notified, and I talked to Joel Dixon today, and he went and spoke to that merchant, and I don't think they have any issues. But does anybody on the council have any issues with on the 9th? It's a Friday night, blocking off Main Street for this artisan, or what are we calling it?
Moonlight Market.
Moonlight Market.
I'm good with it.
Okay, so I didn't hear any objections, so I guess the council's approved it.
Okay.
And the police department will be notified accordingly. Okay, any other questions here? We don't really have the,
Get some
what's that?
people that's got, garbage picked up on the 24th, Thanksgiving Day, it'll be picked up the 23rd on Wednesday.
Are you gonna pick it up early? Cool. I won't be here.
That way there's not a, well, with subdivision stuff out there, there's gonna be a bunch out there.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna pick garbage up out there.
Okay.
Do we know what, I don't know, brand at the gas station is coming out here? Do we know what that is?
I do not.
Or just kind of a food market or something like that, right?
Yeah. It's some kind of, like a neighborhood market. I saw at one of the planning commission meetings sort of a facade sketch of it. And it's gonna be, I don't know how to describe it. Did you see it, Charlene, the sketch? It's gonna be like a neighborhood market, so it's not gonna look like, what's the mobile place, what do they call that? Pardon?
Feel good?
Yeah, Feel Good. It's not that kind of a place. It's a little bit more like a country store type of look, if you will.
Are they gonna sell gas too? Is it like?
Yeah, it'll have gas. And they you'll have to actually drive into, like you're going into Springs Crossing, and there'll be like an access road into it, because there's rules about if the speed limit's above 45 or something like that, which is one of the reasons I was trying to get the speed limit reduced, but no success there. Okay, any other comments?